Avatar Fire and Ash is from director James Cameron, who also wrote it along with Rick Jaffa and Amanda Silver, who worked on Jurassic World, Avatar The Way of Water, and the Planet of the Apes original reboot trilogy, whatever it's called now. They all had help developing the story from Josh Friedman, who did Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, War of the Worlds, and Fantastic Four First Steps, and Shane Salermo, who worked on Armageddon, AVP Requiem, and Avatar The Way of Water. It's time to return to Pandora, another completely immersive, visually stunning experience. This is actually the first one I saw in IMAX 3D. The other two I just saw in regular 3D, and let me just say how amazing it looks in this format cannot possibly be overstated. Right from the opening shot, it drew me right in. It barely even feels like I'm watching a traditional movie. I'm not saying it made me feel like I was there with them, but it feels like something else entirely. This movie, like all the other ones, will make even the most jaded CGI haters question that dislike for the medium. The story is serviceable. It's basic, I guess, but not really much worse than your average Star Wars film. It's over 3 hours long, but while The Way of the Water dragged a lot in the second act, I didn't really notice it that much in this one. Despite that length, it fills it with enough story to move at a reasonable pace throughout. And for that, I consider it to be better than the last one, but not quite as good as the original. But that's a pretty decent position to be in terms of quality. Avatar still remains the pinnacle of CGI spectacle. Anybody who complains about the lack of cultural impact or something can stick to Marvel. Enjoy the lack of enthusiasm for the craft. James Cameron's passion project continues on. Takes you once again on an adventure in a rich world full of amazing sights. See it in the best format possible.
This summer, experience the adventure
Until you can paint with all the colors of the wind.
Pocahontas.
Stranger Things is once again from creators the Duffer Brothers. The ultra-popular show has returned for its final season, and just did its over 2-hour finale last week. A finale that aired in theaters, which is where I saw it. On the big screen for 2 days, with free tickets only if you give the theater $20 to potentially be used for concessions. Netflix's one gift to movie theaters before they go back to their original plan of fucking them up the ass. Anyway, I've been a Stranger Things fan from the beginning. Though it hasn't been perfect as it went on, each season has remained consistently great. It has given us excellent thrills over these years and had resisted the urge to just descend into blind nostalgia. It's good despite the long waits between seasons, which over the years has killed countless enthusiasms and allowed these once innocent kids to look like Dear Evan Hansen.
They're gonna make him do this till he's 90. Let's go.
But despite all that, I think that this last season, while not exactly being its best season, has turned out to be a worthy end to this phenomenon. The decision to put the finale into theaters was smart because, in addition to its movie length, it feels as cinematic as the rest of the show. Which is to say very cinematic, and worth watching on the big screen. Also, treating it like a movie is enough to make the length not so much of a big deal. Yes, this show has longer episodes than your average streaming service, but not as much as the last season, so with a few exceptions you won't be setting aside too much time to watch just one episode. I've accepted that these last 2 seasons are long episodes in a short season, the opposite of my ideal binging series, but that's just nitpicking. What about the content? It's pretty good. It hasn't really added much to what worked in previous seasons, but it's still perfectly good at what they did before. The kids are older now, older than they should be considering the characters they're playing, but they still play the roles as well as always. This season was released in pieces. The first one delivered the goods despite a cliffhanger where I'm still not sure whether or not it made sense. The second one was also decent, although a little underwhelming with some parts coming off as cheesy. And the third part was just a finale, which had returned to the quality of the first half. It wraps up everything in a satisfying way. I know a lot of people are disappointed that the ending wasn't darker, to the point of insanity. I wasn't expecting that much in that regard. The show is an 80s blockbuster type thing, and nobody wants to see the version of Ghostbusters where Dan Aykroyd dies. This is just as dark as it needs to be, enough to fit in with how dark and violent the show has become over time, but still staying true to the roots of Season 1. And there is some emotion in the admittedly overlong ending sequence, as it leans into the idea that these characters' story is finally over. And it feels as big as ever. Almost to a fault, simply because if they didn't make it like that, the seasons would probably come out within a reasonable distance from each other. Netflix would all be totally okay if you put out something that looks more moderately scaled so that it can come out at a point where the teen actors actually look like teens. But since the seasons are so far spaced and it took almost 10 years to put out just 5 seasons, at least we know that time went to good use. There are great finales and there are terrible finales, but then there are a lot that are just pretty much on par with the average episode, but that's great because they bring everything together in a satisfying way. You may disagree, but I think this is that last one. It's an appropriately epic finale to an epic series. Please support my Patreon, link in the description.